All right, so if you're a founder, you've got this one huge, terrifying question just hanging over your head. When do I hit the gas? Right? Go too soon, you burn through all your cash. Way too long, and your competition just blows right past you. Getting this right, I mean, it's everything. It's the difference between making it big and just becoming another statistic.
And speaking of statistics, wow, just let this one sink in for a second. Nearly 3 out of 4 startups that fail, it's not because their idea was bad. Nope. It's because they scaled too early. They literally tried to run before they could even walk. The stakes here, they are incredibly high.
But here's the thing, and this is the good news. This is a totally avoidable mistake. There's a method to this madness, a path you can actually follow. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right here. A simple framework to make sure you scale at the perfect time and in the right way.
So, what's this framework? It's super simple, really intuitive, but man is it powerful. We call it Crawl, Walk, Run. Think of it as your roadmap, taking you from just a raw idea all the way to a business that can really scale.
Okay, so let's look at how this breaks down. It's 3 simple stages. Stage 1, you crawl. Your entire focus here is on one thing, product market fit. The only question you should be asking is, do people actually want this thing? That's it. Once you've got a solid yes there, you move on to the walk stage. This is where you figure out how to get customers, asking, okay, can we do this again and again? And only then, after all that, have you earned the right to run. That's when you pour gas on the fire and focus on profitable growth.
All right, let's dive into Act 1, the most critical phase of all, the crawl. And I'm not kidding. If you mess this part up, nothing else you do is going to matter. This is where you lay the foundation for your entire company.
And that foundation, it starts with one thing, your ideal customer profile, your ICP. Seriously, before you write a single line of code, before you spend $1 on an ad, you have got to have a super clear idea of who you're building this for. Who is it that feels the pain you're solving more than anyone else?
Now, this is super important. The crawl phase isn't a straight line from A to B. It's more like a loop, a cycle. You come up with a guess, a hypothesis about who your customer is. Then you go out and you actually talk to them to see if you're right. And based on what they tell you, you tweak your idea. It's this constant, relentless cycle. Hypothesize, validate, iterate, over and over again.
Okay, theory is great, but let's make this real. I want to show you a quick case study of a company called Panakin. So their initial idea, their hypothesis, seemed pretty solid. They thought, hey, the biggest opportunity for us is solving debt collection for those huge old-school banks. I mean, it makes sense on the surface, right?
But then they did the hard work. They actually went out and started interviewing executives at these banks. And you know what they found? The big banks were way too slow, totally bogged down in ancient systems. The real burning pain point wasn't with them. It was with the new kids on the block, the fast-moving fintech startups and the buy now, pay later companies. I mean, that's a huge pivot, and it all came from just a handful of conversations.
And as soon as they shifted their focus, as soon as they changed their ICP, boom, everything changed. All of a sudden, the market started pulling the product from them. They got a successful proof of concept with a major buy now, pay later client. They just followed the pain, and that's where they found the gold. And what they found, that feeling of the market pulling their product, that is the holy grail of the crawl stage. It's called product market fit, or PMF. It's that magical moment where you're not pushing anymore. People are using your product, they keep coming back, and you know for sure that you're solving a real, genuine problem for them. So think of this as your checkpoint, your go, no-go gate. Do not even think about moving on to the walk stage until you can honestly check off these boxes. You got to have a value prop that resonates, you need a crystal clear ICP, and you need hard evidence of product market fit. If you're not there, just stay in the crawl loop. Keep talking to customers, keep iterating. Okay, so let's say you've done the work. You've nailed the foundation in the crawl stage. Now it's time to start walking. Welcome to Act 2. The game completely changes here. You're not just trying to prove your idea works anymore. You're trying to build a predictable, repeatable machine for growth. And really, this whole stage boils down to one single question. You know your product works for a handful of people. Great. Now, how do we find more of them? And how do we do it repeatably like clockwork? To answer that question, you have to become obsessed with numbers. The first big one is your customer acquisition cost, or CAC. And listen, this isn't just what you spend on ads. This is the fully loaded cost.
We're talking marketing salaries, sales commissions, software tools, the whole shebang, all divided by the number of customers you get. You have to know this number. It is absolutely non-negotiable.
And the other side of that coin is lifetime value, or LTV. Basically, how much profit will you make from a customer over their entire time with you? The health of your entire business, honestly, it just boils down to the relationship between these two numbers. You want your LTV to be way bigger than your CAC. A good rule of thumb, you're aiming for an LTV that's at least 3 times your CAC. That's when you know you have a healthy, sustainable business.
So how do you actually get these customers? Your strategy is probably going to fall into one of 2 main buckets. First, there's product-led growth, or PLG. This is where the product itself does the selling. Think about how you started using Slack or Calendly. You just signed up and started using it. That's PLG. It's awesome for lower-cost products. But if you're selling a really complex, maybe 6-figure deal, you're going to need sales-led growth, or SLG. That's where you have actual salespeople building relationships and closing big deals. Your price point is really what decides which path you should take.
And when it comes to picking your marketing channels, please don't just throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. You have to be strategic. So here are a few quick tips. 1. Go where the intent is. Start with places like Google Search where people are literally typing in their problems. 2. Make sure the math works. It sounds obvious, but you can't spend $500 to get a customer who only pays you $50. And finally, remember the journey doesn't end at the click. If your amazing ad sends someone to a terrible landing page, you've just wasted your money. The whole experience has to be smooth.
Okay, so once you've truly mastered the walk, and that means you have a proven, repeatable, profitable way to get customers, only then can you finally start thinking about the last phase, the run. This is where things get really exciting. This is where you scale to the moon.
And as you start to run, as you scale, you have to start thinking about building your defenses, your competitive moats. It's not enough to just be the first to market. You have to be the best. And that comes from things like being totally obsessed with your customers, using the data you collect to make your product smarter than anyone else's, and building a brand that becomes the go-to name in your space.
And looking ahead, things like AI are going to be a massive turbo boost for your growth engine. Yeah, a lot of people are using it for basic stuff like managing ads, but the real, untapped gold mine, it's in things like automating account research for your sales team or cleaning up your data. So think of AI as the tool that helps you run not just faster, but way, way smarter. Look, if there's just one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this. You cannot rush the foundation. You just can't. The patience and the discipline you show in the crawl and the walk stages, that is what gives you permission to run like crazy later on. So remember that. Patience in the beginning equals speed in the end.
So we've laid out the whole roadmap for you, from a simple idea all the way to massive scale. And now the question isn't for me anymore, it's for you. I want you to take a hard look at your own business, your own startup, and be really, truly honest with yourself. Which stage are you in right now? And more importantly, what is the one single validation you need to focus on to get to that next stage?